now we have a quote from Crystal Johnson, Global Sales Productivity Manager at McAfee, read by Chaz.
My name is Chaz Malone. I'm an organizational communications major at the University of Kansas. And this summer at McAfee, I'm working with the internal communications team as an employee communications intern. One of the greatest gifts we can give our employer is showing up as our truest self and be bold enough to allow our diversity to inspire creativity, inclusivity, and innovation.
Okay, so I know that during my first couple of weeks here working at McAfee, I showed up to every single one of my meetings in a full-blown suit. Had the tie clip as well. I could not breathe because I have one of those turkey necks too, so I need like the size 40. Oh goodness. Anyway, yeah, I realized I did not need to do that, but honestly, I probably felt a little more comfortable just giving those first appearances in a suit rather than a t-shirt and jeans. But working from home, a lot of my meetings are extremely casual, just t-shirt or a hoodie, hats a lot of the times because people didn't want to take care of their hair that day. So it's very great how McAfee encourages us to just be ourselves. On the note of diversity and inclusion, it really is a company that strives to bring on a lot of different people from different personalities to different cultures, because at the end of the day, that's really what makes a company great is uh, all of these different aspects meshing together to create one cohesive unit, one cohesive family. For example, I know growing up, I moved here from Israel with parents from Ukraine and Uzbekistan. So I didn't speak Hebrew very well. I didn't speak English very well. I spoke Russian. And so I know my family spoke Russian, and that was about it. So growing up, it was a bit of a transition. I try to sit at the lunch table with every single clique, and nowhere did I get accepted because I didn't speak English, frankly. So I was a bit of an outlier growing up, and there was nothing like that in McAfee. I mean, it was entirely inclusivity. We just had powerful talks from Chattel. In fact, you're going to hear a quote on a little bit from Chattel, read by Rachel. And yeah, yeah, I think it's a very inclusive environment here at McAfee. To have a hour and a half long talk about recent current events that have transpired and what actions McAfee is taking, that's monumental. Because to have that as a company-wide event, I mean, that's a lot of time and a lot of money spent, but it was well spent to educate these people. Because at the end of the day, a lot of companies, they have these policies, but in reality, they're just liability checks. Here at McAfee, there's action that's being taken in order to educate, in order to um, engage change. So, what do you think about that, Shayna?
Well, it's very obvious that McAfee is taking those steps. I mean, we had in something we called an all hands, but they made a play on of it, and they called it an ally hands because an ally is someone who sticks up for those who cannot stick up for themselves or are being pushed down to the point where it's extremely hard for them to do so. So that's something I just really appreciate, and that's not something that I've personally experienced, but I know that there's a lot of companies that do it, but McAfee was definitely the first time I've actually kind of like see it in action. And in regards to diversity in like the workplace and such, my employment history for the most part has been fairly positive, like luckily, because my very first employer, he was a history teacher during my freshman year. And when he hired me on as a technician for his classes, he wanted to make sure that I was getting paid like for the work I do, like paid well and above what was considered minimum wage for student jobs. And he also wanted me to he wanted to make sure that I was getting all the opportunities like I needed. And he was just one of those great advocates who wanted to push you to like take advantage of all these opportunities that you possibly can, and just to encourage you not to like back down, to kind of like stand for what you believe in, sort of thing. So he's a really great professor. And my next job, which I'm currently at during the school year, is working as a student technician. And with the trends of employment in STEM, it tends to be a highly male dominated field. Of course, women and as well as other gender identities are joining joining up in recent times. But I guess coming into like a field such as engineering, I was a little worried, but of course by then I was a bit more comfortable with just like handling that if it ever occurred. But coming back to my employment with as a student technician, I mean, they've also been just as welcoming. They've vouched for me. They're just make sure that I am not, I guess, deprived of anything that I should be getting, which is something that is greatly appreciated. And McAfee has been no different from that. My coworkers extremely encouraging. They try and make sure that I have all the opportunities I can, and not just because I am a woman and a person of color, but just because I'm human, and that's all we really need to look at, is that we're all human beings, and at the end of the day, why should one person be deprived of the right another person has? So just to kind of go into that, yeah, that's pretty much been my experience, like employment wise, as well as at McAfee.
Thank you. No, that was fantastic. I appreciate those words. And now a quote from Chattel Lynch, Chief People Officer at McAfee.
Hi, my name is Rachel. I'm with Reston Inside Sales. I am at the University of Maryland in Maryland College Park, and I will be reading Chattel's quote. So she starts off with, "I believe we all have a role to play when it comes to creating an inclusive culture. When we stood up as an independent McAfee, this started with creating values that align to the kind of company we are, but more importantly, the culture we strive to be. For me, achieving pay parity in 2019 wasn't a choice, it was a responsibility, and I'm so glad that we have a leadership team who supports this without hesitation. When it comes to diversity and inclusion, I wake up every day asking myself, what can I do more? Over the past few years, we have implemented programs and processes to help remove biases, such as having a female interviewer on every panel, running diverse impact analysis on promotions and compensation, implementing a return to work program, and increasing referral bonuses for diverse candidates. With our diversity-focused recruiting efforts combined with our inclusive hiring practices, we doubled the proportion of the U.S. Black hires in 2019. In addition, with our ongoing commitment to pay parity, we found no gap in URM parity YOY. I'm proud of the strides that McAfee has made, but I won't stop there, and the work is never done until we have eliminated racism and prejudice across the board. It's my hope that we can change our world inwardly, starting with McAfee, and that the communities in which we serve can eliminate this. We can all bring our true, authentic selves wherever our paths take us." So what I gain from that, or what I can perceive from that, is that this is something obviously Chattel really is, really strives for. And I think that's really great coming from a company as big as McAfee. For me, this is a huge, huge thing. Just having more women in this workplace, especially software, it's just a huge thing to try and include women, include every sort of race, and just get out all those prejudice and biases, and try not to bring that into a huge company that it can so easily happen. This is a huge thing for me, especially with the pay parity, because my mom was a victim of the pay gap wage sort of thing going on with women and men. When she found out, her company actually fired her instead of, bringing awareness to it and helping her to feel important compared to these men within the software company. She's also part of software. So when I found out that McAfee was doing this sort of thing, I went to my mom straight away and told her immediately how great McAfee has been towards its women in cybersecurity. The WISE group has been so great having those meetings. And I just think this is so important. And it's something that really draws me to McAfee and has made my experience in this internship just so great. So thank you, McAfee. Thank you, Chantel, for reaching out and being a positive impact on women in the cybersecurity department in the company. And I really appreciate it as a woman.